Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. How are we all doing? Today we've got another how-to tutorial for you, and with Christmas coming up we're going to have a look at these ceramic Christmas decorations. These are really popular around Christmas time, really good product. However, they can be a little bit tricky to press. I don't know whether you've seen any of our other social media stuff, but you'll know I have a bit of a history with these blanks. So Victoria has shown me how to get them right, so I'm going to pass that on to you guys. Now what we cover in this video will apply to all of the ceramics, so all of the decorations, the stars, you know, the circles, everything. So the state of the process is exactly the same, it doesn't matter on the shape. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to set up the artwork. So we'll go down to the desktop, we'll get the artwork set up, and then we'll get it printed. Alright, so we've got the blank, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a document in Photoshop that's going to let me get the design so it's the right size for the product. First thing we need to do is measure the blank, so you'll have to excuse the state of the tape measure. I was doing some drywalling not that long ago and this is now covered in plaster. So the size of your circle is about 73mm, but what I want is I want a little bit of a bleed so that we can line it up properly, so I'm going to do a circle at 76. So back into Photoshop, I've got my document set up, so I'm going to go 100mm by 100mm on the actual document size. That'll give us enough to sort of play with the circle and stuff. I want my resolution at 300 pixels per square inch. My colour mode is RGB colour, and I want a white background, and we're ready to go. So I'm going to click create. So that document there will be 100mm by 100mm, and then we need our circle so that we know where we're putting it. So to do that, I just need to go to the shapes tool, which I can't remember where it is as I'm on camera. Bear with me a second. Right, so what we want to do is we're going to get the, so we've got our document there, which is 100 by 100. And we want to go to the shape tool. So I'm going to go to the ellipse tool here down the left hand side. I'm going to click on just click once on the mouse, and that will let me put in some dimensions. So like I said, the blank is 73mm in diameter, but we want a little bit of bleed so that we can line it up. So I'm going to go 76mm by 76mm. It's important to actually write millimeters, the two M's into this when you do it, because otherwise Photoshop wants to treat it as pixels. So I put 76mm, click OK. So that will give us a shape. I know you can't see it at the moment, that's because there's no outline. And then all I want to do is I just want to change the stroke to black on the right hand panel there under the properties panel, and that will give us a circle. So that's the circle we've got to work in. And now I just need to get the artwork off Victoria, so bear with me 2 seconds. Got it on another document here. So we're going to go for this Florence's First Christmas artwork. So I'm just going to drag that over and drop it in. So as you can see, it is actually coming too big. So what I want to do is I'm going to go File and Free Transform, and then I'm going to drag using these handles here. So these handles will scale something in proportion to itself. I know if you've got an older version of Photoshop, you have to hold Shift down for that, but they've made it so that it automatically scales in proportion. If, for example, I did want to change the proportion at all, I would just hold down Shift and then click and drag one of the handles, and it'll let you sort of free transform it like that. But we don't want to do that, we want to keep it in the proportions she designed it at. So I've dropped that into the centre of the circle, and that's now ready to print. So I'm going to send that to the printer. Right, so with the blank printed, all we need to do now is tape it to the, with the design printed, don't print the blank, what you're going to do is tape it to the blank. So what you'll be able to see now is, you see how when I said I was going to put a 3mm bleed around the design, so that black outline there gives me something visual that I can sort of center the print on. So we just pop that in the middle, but with it being wide enough away, it means it's not going to transfer to the blank when it's in the heat press. So you've got to remember, when you're printing with sub-ink, even your guidelines and things, all of those will transfer if they end up in contact while they're in the heat press. So I'm just going to loosely tape this down, because you really don't want this moving while it's in the press, as you'll get ghosting and blurring and all sorts of unwanted effects. There we go. Right, so we're going to set the press up to do the ceramics. So we're looking for 195 degrees C. And we want to run it for 270 seconds. So they are in for quite a while, these blanks, but it's normal because we're not using as much pressure. You need to give them a little bit more time just to make sure that ink transfers. Okay, so that's that set. We'll let that get sorted and then we'll go take it and we'll put it on the press bed. Right, so that's the press set up. The press is up to temp. It's really nice and warm now. So what I'm going to do with this is there's a few things you need to be careful of when you're doing these blanks because they're very thin ceramic. First thing is you need to warm them up first. So that has been warmed up a little bit. We did that before we taped it. So you just don't want it to go in freezing cold because your thermal shock will crack the ceramic. So these are nice and warm. I mean, still holdable, but you know, not too cold. Then we're going to want to pop it in the middle of the platen. On bigger presses like this, it's not so much of an issue, but on the very small hobby presses, if you go off to the side like that, you sometimes find that you get a little bit of tilt in the platen and that can also crack it. So you want to be right in the middle of your platen. I mean, the same goes if you're doing 2 or 3, you just make sure that the centre of them is in the middle of the pan. And I'm going to want to put a bit of baking paper over the top, like that. So you only need a little bit just to cover the blank. It's just going to protect the press from any ink that decides to come back the way during the process. And then I'm going to really gently lower the heat platen. Now you don't want to force this down. Be as gentle as you can, just feel it click. So that is just kissing the ceramic. You don't want a lot of pressure on these at all because again they will crack. So that's just kissing it just enough to heat it up. Okay, so that's going to run for, you know, 270 seconds. So I'll come back when it's done and we'll see what the results are like. Okay, so that's it, beef. It's done. We're ready to go. I'm going to take my baking paper off. Now I have got gloves on for these because I know I've got asbestos hands, but these ceramics get really hot. Okay, so now I tend to take the glove off just so I can get the tape off. Oh, I also tend to drop the blank. There we go, tape coming off. And there we go. I'll bring this over to the bench so we can have a look at the final product. But that is a printed ceramic blank. And there we go, guys. One printed ceramic blank. Now, as I say, they can be quite complicated, but if you follow that guide, you shouldn't have a problem with them. I'll be honest, that is one of the first ones of those I've ever been able to do without cracking it, and that's because obviously Victoria gave me the tips on how to do it, which I've passed on to you today. So if you've enjoyed that, you found it useful, let us know. Stick with the channel because we've got loads more of these how-tos coming. And yeah, have a great evening, everybody.